Recently, the astrology community has been abuzz with another terrifying prediction. Pluto has returned. The world is about to undergo great upheavals, or perhaps the phoenix will rise again. So, what is this all about? Who is Pluto, and what changes will the world experience? Today, let's talk about the prophecy of Pluto's return in 2025. Hello everyone, I'm Mr. X. Between November and December 2024, influenza A broke out in China. The primary pathogen was the swine flu virus, H1N1, with H3N2 playing a secondary role. These viruses can also lead to pneumonia, with a fatality rate of approximately 1 to 4%. One strain of influenza A once caused the Spanish flu pandemic during World War I, resulting in over 50 million deaths worldwide. These viruses have coexisted with humans for over a century. Currently, they generally only cause seasonal flu, which is curable. For epidemiologists, these agents are considered controllable. At the end of 2024, after the outbreak of influenza A in China, it spread to Japan in January 2025. This time, it seemed to produce more critically ill patients. Moreover, some patients exhibited white lung symptoms. This has alerted experts. Could the influenza A virus have mutated or recombined with other strains? Therefore, experts warn that the virus remains especially frightening for the elderly, the immunocompromised, and anyone with pre-existing conditions, since it can lead to serious complications or even death. While influenza A was raging across East Asia, January 2025 saw a massive wildfire tear through Southern California near Los Angeles. Multiple communities went up in flames. Those U.S. fires were finally contained on January 21st, only to reappear in South Korea shortly thereafter, where they razed the national treasure Gyeomsa Temple on Mount Hwangsan. Built during the Silla dynasty over 1,000 years ago, the temple itself was saved only because its priceless artifacts had been evacuated in time. The blaze in South Korea claimed 30 lives and destroyed more than 3,000 buildings before it was finally brought under control on March 28. The year 2025 was proving far from peaceful. On March 28, just as South Korea emerged from the flames, Myanmar was struck by a powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake. With its epicenter only 10 kilometers below the surface, the quake wrought massive destruction. Mandalay, Myanmar's second-largest city and closest to the epicenter, saw countless buildings collapse and tens of thousands of casualties. But nature wasn't the only threat. In April 2025, the world was drawn into a full-scale trade war when U.S. President Donald Trump wielded his tariff hammer against over 100 countries, each responding with its own countermeasures. The trade war raged on, and the Russia-Ukraine conflict dragged into its next phase with no end in sight. Netizens buzzed with alarm. What is happening in 2025? How did so many crises erupt right at the start? Western astrologers, however, insist these events should come as no surprise. For Pluto has returned. Pluto? Who is Pluto, and why does it return in 2025? Astrologer Kyle Thomas of People magazine, one of America's best-selling weeklies since 1974, says, "Here, Pluto refers to the planet Pluto. On November 19, 2024, it entered the sign of Aquarius. This marks its first return to Aquarius since 1776, and it will remain there until March 8, 2043. Pluto wasn't discovered until 1930, when American astronomer Clyde Tombaugh spotted it. For the next 76 years, it was known as the ninth planet of our solar system. But in 2006, the International Astronomical Union reclassified Pluto as a dwarf planet because it shares its orbital zone with other bodies, unlike the 8 classical planets, each of which dominates its own orbit. Astronomers removed it from the list of major planets. After its discovery, Pluto quickly captured the interest of Western astrologers. Since the mid-20th century, they have officially incorporated Pluto as a member of the astrological chart. They found that its 248-year orbital cycle is perfectly suited for long-term forecasting. Pluto spends roughly 20 to 30 years in each zodiac sign, a span about equal to one human generation, from birth to maturity. Likewise, a 20 to 30-year period is considered a long-range cycle for a nation, society, or even the entire world. In Greek mythology, Pluto was originally called Hades. Today, Hades mainly refers to the underworld itself, so the planet is now usually called Pluto. We should explain Pluto's mythological role, since its character shapes how astrologers interpret its influence. Pluto is the brother of Zeus, ruler of Mount Olympus. Together, they defeated the Titans led by their father. Afterwards, Pluto took charge of the underworld, living year-round in a golden palace beneath the earth. In the Greek pantheon, Zeus rules the sky, Poseidon rules the sea, and Pluto rules the underworld. He presides over the realm of the dead, and because the Earth's depths hold mineral riches like gold, silver, and iron, Pluto is also associated with wealth. Based on these traits, modern astrology regards Pluto as the planet of transformation, power, and rebirth. Its influence is subtle yet profound, and it often heralds deep psychological and social change, closely tied to broad societal reform. Pluto governs the cycle of death and rebirth. It pushes people to break free from old patterns and embrace transformation. This kind of change doesn't come from lounging on the couch with a coffee or watching YouTube videos. It requires overcoming great challenges. Because we must confront intense trials, Pluto is frequently associated with power struggles. It heightens human emotions, making conflicts more extreme and driving thorough, systemic reform. Astrologers therefore see Pluto's return in the world as the driving force behind the raging trade war and Trump's Drain the Swamp crusade in Washington. With a 248-year orbital cycle, Pluto spends 20 to 30 years in each of the 12 zodiac signs, enough time to influence one or even several generations, shaping new social trends. The name Pluto itself can feel cold and foreboding, since it evokes death and the underworld. Yet its energy can also revitalize barren ground, imbuing it with life. In this respect, Pluto's role resembles that of Shiva in Hindu myth, both destroyer and creator. When destruction and renewal join forces, the world experiences both turmoil and hope. Of course, beyond its intrinsic power, Pluto's influence varies with each zodiac sign it occupies. In 2025, Pluto will dwell in Aquarius, a sign of air and innovation, so the reforms it inspires will be comprehensive, including groundbreaking advances in technology. This kind of reform will focus on realms of knowledge and unpredictable intellect. Moreover, it represents a bottom-up transformation, unlike anything ordinary, requiring the shattering of existing rules. Therefore, a visionary leader will play a pivotal role. Astrologer Thomas notes that these very traits bring to mind the Government Performance Office, led by Elon Musk and championed by Donald Trump. Indeed, that office moves swiftly and unconventionally, and Trump himself often unveils bizarre tactics. Thomas also says that Pluto in Aquarius will naturally bring prosperity to society. After all, Pluto is also a god of wealth. Does history offer precedents for the sweeping reforms Pluto's return to Aquarius may bring? Next, let us take a brief retrospective. Pluto's previous 248-year cycle placed it in Aquarius in 1776. What happened that year? On July 4, 1776, the Founding Fathers of the United States signed the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia. the newborn nation of America ushered in monumental changes to the world and secured its place on the global stage. Going back another 248 years takes us to 1528. Between 1528 and 1534, England's King Henry VIII strove tirelessly to break from Rome. He established the Church of England, allowing himself to divorce and remarry without papal approval. This was the first church independent of the Vatican, entirely under the king's authority, a watershed moment in Christian history. Rewinding yet another 248 years lands us in 1280. In 1279, the Mongol Khagan Kublai Khan completed the conquest of the southern Song, becoming emperor of all China. He reopened trade routes from China's southeast coast through West Asia to Europe. It was during this period that the Venetian merchant Marco Polo visited China and recorded his adventures in the legendary travelogue, The Travels of Marco Polo. Each time Pluto has held court in Aquarius, it has reshaped the world's structure, not with superficial tweaks, but with deep, systemic reforms. Mid-20th century Western astrological studies confirm that Pluto's return in 2025 is highly predictable in its global impact. Unfortunately, we lack concrete historical examples to forecast natural disasters under Pluto's influence in Aquarius. Thus, Thomas sought insight from another master. He also cautions, however, that Pluto in Aquarius may herald human-caused catastrophes. Abhigya Anand, the Indian prodigy and heir to ancient Vedic astrology, long thought missing, has seized this moment to forecast natural disasters that surpass Western astrological predictions. In a video posted on March 1, 2025, Anand accurately predicted a major earthquake. He stated that within a few months, possibly as early as March, a large quake could strike. He pinpointed the window from the 2nd to the 3rd week of March 2025, March 9th to 22nd, as the most likely period for a major tremor. If nothing occurred then, he warned, the next window would fall between August and October. Potential hotspots included the Himalayan seismic belt, the Indochinese Peninsula, the U.S. West Coast Fault Zone, or the Peru seismic zone in South America. Anand was candid. His forecast was based on combining historical earthquake data with Vedic astrological techniques. Sure enough, on March 28th, Myanmar experienced a powerful earthquake, just 6 days after Anand's predicted window, centered in the Indo-Chinese Peninsula segment of the Himalayan belt. His timing and location were remarkably precise, outpacing both Western astrologers and seismologists, none of whom had claimed a prior forecast. After the quake, conflicts among local militias and severe supply shortages hampered relief efforts, compounding the human toll. Believers held that Pluto in Aquarius had foretold these events. Disasters have also been envisioned by other seers. On March 31st, American prophetic pastor Brandon Biggs posted a video predicting a magnitude 8.7 earthquake in Japan. Biggs described a vision of Honshu Island splitting open under a massive quake. He saw molten lava surging through the fissure and columns of black smoke, like tornadoes, rising from the rift. He also foresaw a resulting tsunami, though he could not specify exactly when it would strike. Biggs felt it would happen in 2025. Earlier, on June 28, 2024, he had prophesied a cataclysmic quake along the Cascadia Fault in the U.S. West, an event he estimated at magnitude 10, surpassing any in recorded history. He reported visions of massive cracks opening near Portland, tsunami waves crashing into the fault line, and fissures extending north through British Columbia, Canada, all the way to Anchorage, Alaska. He even foresaw forests ablaze and a major eruption at Yellowstone supervolcano. Whether these prophecies come to pass or merely serve as warnings, they underscore the belief that Pluto's return to Aquarius heralds both cataclysm and the seeds of renewal. The massive tsunami generated by the quake engulfed Hawaii, and another surge raced west to inundate Tokyo, Japan. Although Biggs's vision did not specify an exact date, it clearly encompassed two separate events: a magnitude 8.7 earthquake in Japan, a magnitude 10 quake along the U.S. West Coast. Such catastrophic disasters striking densely populated regions would be incontrovertible proof that Pluto has manifested its power on Earth. Next, let's examine Japan's seismic activity. In June 2024, shortly after Biggs posted his earthquake prophecy, a magnitude 7.1 tremor struck near Hyuga Beach on August 8, 2024. The epicenter lay offshore, east of Miyazaki Prefecture on Kyushu Island. Thankfully, it caused minimal damage and produced no tsunami. Immediately afterward, the Japan Meteorological Agency issued a Southern Trench Earthquake Advisory, warning of a potentially massive offshore quake. Yet the year 2024 passed without further incident along Japan's Southern Trench. This submarine fault zone stretches some 700 kilometers southwest of Japan, a boundary between the Philippine Sea Plate and the Eurasian Plate. Modern science estimates its seismic cycle at 90 to 200 years, with past quakes reaching magnitudes 8 to 9. Such events unleash immense energy. Not only do they devastate land, but the resulting tsunamis often inflict even greater harm. The last major quake there occurred in 1946, the Showa-nen Trench Quake, 79 years ago. Accordingly, seismologists remain deeply concerned that the Southern Trench may soon reactivate. Current simulations predict a future earthquake of magnitude 8.0 to 9.1, meaning Biggs's forecast of an 8.7 magnitude event falls squarely within scientific estimates. Statistically, there is a 60% chance of a Southern Trench quake within the next 20 years, 80% within 30 years, and 90% within 30 years, 40 years. Of course, chance remains just that. Human technology cannot yet pinpoint exactly when an earthquake will strike. Saying within 20 years simply means it could occur on any day over the next 2 decades. In the past 100 years, humanity's ability to predict earthquakes has seen no significant advances. The so-called probabilities are merely rough reference points. In this respect, they may not be more reliable than astrology. On January 13, 2025, the sea southeast of Miyazaki Prefecture on Kyushu Island, Japan, experienced a magnitude 6.8 quake. Surveillance cameras in Miyazaki captured buildings and rooms swaying violently. The Japan Meteorological Agency issued a tsunami warning for Kyushu and parts of southeast Shikoku. The advisory warned of waves up to 1 meter high, but in the end, no tsunami materialized. Both the January 2025 tremor and the August 2024 Hyuga Nada quake struck near the western edge of the same Southern Trench fault zone, which is divided into 5 segments, A through E, from west to east. A massive earthquake could occur in any one, or combination, of these segments. Hyuga Nada lies in segment A. When the 7.1 magnitude quake hit on August 8, 2024, experts were on high alert, fearing it might be a prelude to a major Southern Trench event. Yet when another Hyuga Nada quake struck in early 2025, only 5 to 10 kilometers from the 2024 epicenter, researchers at Kyoto University's Disaster Prevention Laboratory concluded that both tremors originated from the same geological structure. They now believe these quakes were merely localized activity, not the opening act of a Southern Trench catastrophe. Consequently, Japanese seismologists have eased their concern, judging that the Hyuga Nada events bear little relation to a larger trench-wide quake. So where might Brandon Biggs's predicted magnitude 8.7 earthquake occur? If not along Japan's Southern Trench? According to Biggs's vision, a colossal fissure would appear on Honshu Island's mainland. Historically, Honshu has indeed suffered a devastating quake. The most recent was the March 11, 2011, magnitude 9.1 3.11 quake off its northeast coast, which triggered a catastrophic tsunami and left 18,000 people missing. In the 21st century, apart from the COVID pandemic, it remains one of the costliest natural disasters. On January 1, 2024, a magnitude 7.5 quake struck the Noto Peninsula, claiming around 3,000 lives. Thus, Japan's major earthquakes have not been confined solely to the southern trench. Such a quake could originate from other seismic sources. On Honshu Island, Japan, magnitude 8+ earthquakes recur about every 60 years. Subduction zones like the Japan Trench and the Nankai Trough also can generate quakes around magnitude 8.7. Yet the devastating 3.11 earthquake was only 14 years ago, far short of that 60-year cycle. Scientifically speaking, in 2025, the odds of an 8.0+ quake striking anywhere near Honshu remain low. Still, earthquakes strike without warning. Take Myanmar's 7.7 magnitude tremor this March. No one saw it coming. Next, let's turn to the great quake and tsunami on America's west coast that Brandon Biggs foresaw. His vision closely mirrors scenes from the film 2012, though that movie is purely fictional. Two features stand out: Yellowstone supervolcano, the 1,000-kilometer-long Cascadia subduction zone. The Cascadia zone forms where the Juan de Fuca plate dives beneath the North American plate. It's also a major seismic hotspot. In 1700, it unleashed an 8.7 to 9.2 magnitude quake, whose tsunami waves crossed the Pacific to Japan. Modern seismologists estimate the Cascadia cycle at 200 to 500 years. It's been 325 years since 1700, past the minimum interval of 200 years, but 175 years shy of the maximum. Experts calculate roughly a 15% chance of a magnitude 9+ event in the next 50 years, and about a 30% chance of an 8.0 to 9.0 quake. Therefore, although Biggs's vision echoes the 1700 disaster, modern science judges its recurrence in 2025 very unlikely. As for Yellowstone's supervolcano, it hasn't erupted in 640,000 years. Scientists believe its major eruption cycle spans 600,000 to 800,000 years. However, smaller eruptions occur more frequently. About 70,000 years ago, one did erupt. Now, 640,000 years have passed since that smaller event, so Yellowstone could erupt at any time. Yet volcanologists insist that for a major supereruption, conditions are not yet ripe. Still, prophecy is not certainty. Cataclysmic visions may be dress rehearsals for real disasters or metaphors for profound inner change. They might warn of societal upheaval or a seismic shift in our collective consciousness. Most prophecies only make sense in hindsight. Yet the world's turmoil in early 2025 alone demands our attention and invites deep reflection on our inner worlds. Some say that Pluto's return may herald the death and rebirth of our world. What do you think? What other upheavals might 2025 bring, and what metaphoric meanings could they hold? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. That concludes our discussion for today. If you found this video or any of the content on our Future Files channel truly helpful, please share it with a friend. Thank you all so much. Goodbye, and see you next time.